Do you know how to avoid that 50% divorce statistic that everybody out there is so aware of? I'm going to tell you a secret. It's not a 50-50 shot for every relationship. In fact, that's 50% risk for every marriage across the board. The risk of first marriages breaking up is about 35 to 40%, which still feels high, but it can reduce to 1% or even 0.1% based on the variables at play. One of the major variables here is your attachment style. And I discovered this in my years as a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. I was so struck by the impact of attachment styles on relationships that I've made it my life goal to focus on fixing attachment for 1 billion people. Because I believe in marriage, I believe in families, and I believe that we can still turn this divorce epidemic around. And I've seen the evidence of it. Today in this video, a lot of you have asked me, Adam, how can I, in good conscience, get into a relationship fearing that my relationship is going to end on a 50-50 flip, right? It's not going to, number one. But number two, I want to show you how each attachment style individually impacts your risk of a divorce. Because most of you out there are very, and rightly so, very concerned about this. A lot of you have been in the comments asking about it. How does my attachment style impact my divorce risk? I'm going to go through every single attachment style today and give you a brutal answer. Let's go. Now, the first attachment style we're going to cover is the best one, right? Secure attachment. As you know, and as you've been following along on this channel, if you're returning, and if you're not, if you're brand new, hello and welcome. I'm updating the field of attachment theory because back in the 1960s, when Bowlby created it, it was great and I love it, but it needs a big update based on all the changes we've seen since then and the massive growth of insecure attachment. So secure attachment splits into two. One is secure attachment that you're raised and with, and you grow up in your family system. You become securely attached based on how your caregivers raise you. The other is remade secure. You were not securely attached before, but you have remade your attachment style into a full secure connection with other human beings and with yourself. Okay. The hallmark of secure attachment under this umbrella is that they are comfortable being close to other people. They trust, let's say not easily, but clearly, because they have a clear system for who to trust and who not to trust. They have very structured boundaries. They know how to communicate their needs. They know how to collaborate and cooperate with other people during conflict. It's not that they're perfect. It's not that they'll never have a fight and they'll never have a bad day, but they are self-policing and consistent with their values. They also prioritize long-term goals over short-term pleasure or short-term reduction of pain. They are able to delay gratification and focus on the outcome. This makes them very effective in working together as a team. They also tend to bond fairly well and normally with high levels of oxytocin and vasopressin back and forth, alternating continuously. If you saw my earlier video with Dr. Sue Carter, I finally got to interview her. I've been following her research for years, and it's been phenomenal in transforming the field of relationship theory as we work on it today. Now, attachment theory as I'm updating it. So watch that interview, but right now what you need to know, oxytocin bonding, vasopressin bonding, absolutely crucial for long-term relationships. In fact, one of the biggest indicators of long-term marriage longevity is vasopressin bonding. You have to be working together as a team and releasing this hormone consistently. That in turn opens the door for oxytocin bonding, that warmth, that nurturing, that care, that intimacy, the good bonding that we're all looking for, that the feeling we associate with being loved and in love. That's that feeling. It has to be happening in tandem continuously. Securely attached people are able to do that very effectively and almost effortlessly with minimal friction. They're not perfect. Again, I don't want to paint that picture, but they are optimal in relationships. They are optimized for their environment. It is like the difference between a cow in the ocean and a dolphin in the ocean. They are the dolphin in the ocean, perfectly designed for their environment, which is human relationships. Okay. They have much lower divorce rates. In fact, in all my years, first as a licensed marriage and family therapist, now as a relationship coach, I have never seen two securely attached people get a divorce. That just does not really happen because individuals with secure attachment, they tend to have healthier relationships characterized by trust, open communication, and emotional intimacy. So when one of them changes, they're aware of it. They talk about it. They grow together. They adapt. They align together continuously toward these shared goals that they talked about from the beginning of the relationship. There is is no reason to split up, and they're able to collaborate and continuously bond hormonally, oxytocin, vasopressin, back and forth continuously, so the relationship continues. These are the happiest couples, you guys. The old people that are walking along the beach, and they're like super old, they can hardly walk, and they're tottering along holding hands at sunset, and you're like, oh, look at those old people. That's why. That's secure attachment that has got them there. That's what that creates. That's what you need. Okay. If you want a low divorce rate, secure attachment is the thing that gets you there. Now, they have strong problem solving skills, especially because they hit rough patches. Securely attached individuals are better equipped to navigate conflicts, find solutions. If, for example, in their 40s, she gets breast cancer, they don't like fracture and split apart and not speak. He dissociates and like huddles in a cave until his secretary starts beckoning to him and he goes to her for comfort. She doesn't just completely shut down or feel like she is now worthless in the relationship. They are able to just sit down and talk about it, what it means, what they're going to do, how they're going to get through it. There's not endless resentment or abandonment or unmet needs. They're able to resolve and get through it. If something bad happens in their life or financial tragedy or whatever it is, they sit down and say, okay, how are we going to navigate this together toward our shared goal? And they fit together and they work. This is the difference, you guys. Think of a business. If a business has an aligned North Star that they are always aiming toward and they are continuously pushing in that direction, then when they get bumps on the road, they can still navigate back toward it. If the goal of a business is just kind of like, well, make it one more year, the business is probably going to fracture and get destroyed. You have to have a long-term goal and problem-solving skills to get there. This is the hallmark of secure attachment. It is being able to cooperate with other people, to be clear and open and calm and direct, and not have your emotions overwhelm you continuously. And at times, if they do, you come out of it and say, oh, that was not good. Let's fix this. And you're able to navigate back to it. So you don't have a simmering level of resentment, unmet needs, suspicion, fear, the terror clawing at you, desperately hoping that you're going to escape from this relationship to go find more dopamine somewhere. They're very, very resilient against addictions and addictive behaviors. They are continuously moving forward in a healthy relationship. If you say anything, it could be that securely attached people are addicted to good relationships and how wonderful it feels to be in a healthy, balanced relationship. That is their addiction. Their brain rewards them for it continuously, so they stay within that path typically. This is the lowest divorce rate. I would say darn close to zero. Now, from there, let's move to anxious attachment. And as you know, as I'm updating the theory, it goes from nurturing anxious down to toxic anxious. And that doesn't sound very friendly, and it's not. Off the end of the chart are things like histrionic personality disorder, dependent personality disorder, a total collapse into fear of abandonment and screaming like a child for attention. But over on this side is nurturing and caring, massive levels of empathy and care. Okay? People with anxious attachment style, they believe that deep down on the inside, there's something wrong with them, something unlovable. Everyone else can see it, but not them. So they put up a cardboard cutout of a perfect person on the outside. They are endlessly worried in marriages that their partner is going to discover this bad thing about them and leave. And they're going to say, rightly so, of course you left me, I'm worthless. They can come across as needy or clingy or constantly anxious, constantly needing reassurance, which often pushes their partners away, partly because they tend to pick non-secure partners. Secure partners tend to avoid anxiously attached people because they come in and offer everything on the table right up front, no strings attached, just please don't leave me. And that really puts off secure people because it feels very uncomfortable. Like, where's the trap? What's going on here? This is not appropriate. And what you're going to pull in is people that want no strings attached kind of experiences, high levels of dopamine. Often you're going to pull in avoidantly attached people or disorganized people or people with personality disorders. So you're already dooming the relationship in many places. This is why anxious attachment style, over time, as they give and give and give, they hope if they do 10 nice things for that person will return one nice thing for them, but they'll not ask for it. And they'll leave little tiny clues, but they'll deny it if they get asked. But over time, that resentment starts to build and build and build. The biggest problem I saw with this was anxiously attached women with avoidantly attached men. And the woman would come in and give and give and give and give. And it was okay, sort of. She wasn't happy, but it was okay up until they had kids. And then their kids would start to feel anxious at feeling disconnected from their dad. She would start to blame him, see him as the enemy. She would then aggressively go to protect her children emotionally from him, alienate them from the father, alienate him from the family, and start going after him in ways he had never expected. And this is why I saw a lot of divorces at 15 or 20 years once the kids hit high school or got out of high school. This is what tore it apart, was that simmering underlying anxious attachment that she flipped in the middle of the relationship completely. Not that she was the only problem, but that her instability early on allowed and enabled this entire system to go and then detonate the family. I've seen that time and time again. I wrote a whole book on this, you guys. This is why anxious attachment style comes with a very high divorce rate. Individuals with anxious attachment often crave intense emotional connection, but then have a lot of underlying resentment. And then they have explosions periodically, especially once they start feeling like people owe them something. This leads to clinginess, jealousy, fighting, blow-ups every so often. It creates a constant sense of insecurity in both partners and a huge instability in the relationship. And it all stems from constant fear of abandonment. Every little thing feels like fear of abandonment, or they're about to be. They perceive that abandonment. This creates overwhelming communication challenges, because if you feel like you're always on the risk of exposing something that will get you ostracized and kicked out of the relationship, and that you'll be abandoned and you'll have to go live under a bridge with coyotes as your only friends, and particularly mean coyotes, all the best coyotes even won't hang out with you, then what happens is you have a very difficult time expressing your needs. In fact, you usually bury your needs deep down inside, dissociate from them, and say, I don't even know what they are. I don't think I have needs. Your needs, your fears, your craving of reassurance all gets buried in a hole somewhere. And then that just builds, and it leads to misunderstandings and resentment, starvation. I've seen this time and time again. This is why anxious attachment style does have a very high divorce risk. But again, also because they tend to partner up with the wrong people from the get-go. Now, the next split is avoidant attachment style. And as you know from watching my theory and the updates, ethical avoidant down toward manipulative avoidant. And then off the end of the spectrum, antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, avoidant personality disorder, off over here on this side, okay? The more and more and more damage they take in childhood sometimes, and the more hurt and abuse they take, the more they might say other people are bad. Ethically avoidant people say other people are disrupted and dysregulated and probably not to be trusted. Manipulatively avoidant people say other people are bad and will do awful things to me if they get the chance. Therefore, I can justify. This is where you get stonewalling, gaslighting, lying, all kinds of manipulative tendencies that then go off the chart. If they start really denying your right to human respect and human rights, off the end of that scale, into personality disorder territory, criminal behavior, okay, things that are against the law. Now, let's focus in on the ethical avoidant people, because these people are fairly easy to spot, and I have tons of videos on red flags for toxic partners. But the ethically avoidant people, they make it very hard to maintain a marriage too, because they're often very emotionally distant and unavailable. They don't oxytocin bond appropriately in relationships. Anxiously attached people get addicted to the oxytocin cycle and crave it and need it, and it's their measurement of safety. Avoidantly attached people don't really feel it at all and don't understand it. And they also are not likely to solve problems with you. When there's a problem, they pull away and try to solve it alone. They don't understand emotional intimacy. So that whole wheel of needing oxytocin and vasopressin renewal stops. Your biggest marker for marriage longevity is now gone. And your other marker for marriage happiness and satisfaction is also gone. Very, very hard for avoidantly attached people to stay together, because they don't even believe in long-term romance, typically long-term love that lasts. They don't even understand what love is supposed to feel like. They understand dopamine, but the novelty dopamine dies in about 5 to 7 months. This is why they're going to seem emotionally distant and unavailable, because low oxytocin creates mechanical behavior and mechanical thinking and strategic tactical thinking. This makes it very hard to connect deeply with them or for them to connect to somebody else, and it can feel very, very lonely for their partner. In fact, it will drive an anxiously attached person insane over time. Now, this fear of intimacy, getting close to other people, is really a fear of getting trapped, getting hurt. It's high risk for what they perceive to be almost zero reward, and especially diminishing reward reward over time as dopamine goes down, and they don't get reimbursed by oxytocin and serotonin and GABA and overwhelming peace and contentment and bonding. They don't get that. So it's just diminishing returns for seemingly increasing workload. This is a recipe for them ducking out at some point. Many of them do, not all of them, but many of them do. That fear of getting closer and closer and closer into commitment. If you can even get them into a marriage, right? They usually are looking for something in it, or, well, I want to have kids and this is the best way to do it, or everybody else is doing it. It's expected of me. They get into the marriage, and that fear of intimacy hinders the development of any emotional bonds. Breakdown of communication is almost guaranteed because of a difficult time expressing emotions, leads to resentment, conflict. They're avoidant of conflict because they don't believe anyone else will ever cooperate with them in it. So then they don't communicate their feelings or needs or desires unless something goes really wrong. Then they lash out and bite at the other person, and they have passive aggressive tendencies or directly aggressive tendencies. It just goes catastrophically wrong, you guys. That's why people with avoidant attachment style tend to be emotionally distant and create that disconnection and lead ultimately to the divorce. They might be the ones who file for divorce. Quite often, they're the ones who get filed on by that anxiously attached woman after 10, 15, 20 years. And he gets blindsided because he says, I have no idea. I've been miserable for all these years, but I've taken care of you. Why are you turning on me now? Why are you betraying me now after all this time when I've done everything to take care of you? Bewildered Husbands, Exhausted Wives. That's the book I wrote. Exhausted Wives, Bewildered Husbands. It is on Amazon talking about this exact dynamic. So if you need more information on that, check that book out. But this is the reason that avoidantly attached people often don't even get married in the first place, which is actually leading to a decrease in marriage rates. But if they do get married, it will most likely rip the relationship apart because they just can't maintain it. Now, the last one, disorganized attachment style. You know that this is a wild difference between the two. From quiet disorganized, which takes usually the nurturing aspects of anxious attachment style and the ethical aspects of avoidant attachment and marries them together. So they now feel that other people are unreliable and not to be trusted. At the same time, they have a little core of weak anxious attachment style that says, you know what? I really don't deserve any better and nobody's going to treat me any better. So that's fine. They tend to pair up, interestingly, mostly with people of full personality disorders. Highly intelligent women, I have a ton of them come into my coaching practice, highly intelligent women who are avoidant on the outside, but a bit anxious and insecure on the inside, who stay distant from other people, have very few friends. Even if they have kids, they're fairly distant from them. They are imagine they are constantly a burden to everybody. They don't share needs. They don't even know what needs are. They don't even know how to have them or express them. They just stay quiet and silent for most of their life, trying to make other people happy and just trying to help people. That's what they have, is massive empathy. And inside, they are deeply lonely and they don't know there's another way to live. The loud disorganized, it can be a blend. It can marry some of the worst traits of the anxious and toxic style with some of the worst traits of the manipulative avoidant style, but not always. Sometimes it's very good, loving, caring, but wildly chaotic, swinging back and forth between I gotta run, no, I have to cling on, no, I'm gonna grab you and hold on to you no matter what, now I'm gonna get you in a headlock of love, nope, wait, now I've decided to set the building on fire and jump out the window, wait, I can rescue you from this mysterious gasoline fire because I love you so much. Now I'm going to go build a new house and I promise there won't be any mysterious gasoline fires in this one, right? It's this wild, turbulent, chaotic thing. They're not bad people usually, but there's a lot of chaos. And off the end of the spectrum is borderline personality disorder, the most extreme version of the disorganized approach, fully has taken over the personality disorder. Fear of abandonment is wild and rampant. The need to control other people is also wild and rampant. Threats of self-harm to try to control people, threats of everything, feeling utterly alone and lost and empty without other people to define you, can't be around themselves alone, can't look at themselves, can't stand themselves, using sex and everything possible to hook people into the relationship as fast as possible. If you guys have ever seen one of those women who runs into the bedroom immediately and it just like explodes the person's life inside the bedroom, and they are so enamored of her that then she thinks she can get away with stealing money out of their wallet, emptying their bank account, harvesting their kidneys while he's sleeping, stuff like this. This is extreme borderline personality disorder. Most people who think they have borderline personality disorder don't. The rule generally among therapists is if someone says, I have borderline personality disorder, no, you don't. Nobody with borderline personality disorder will ever really own up to having that. That's completely separate because that's their worldview and they think that they are completely rational within their behavior. You probably have loud, disorganized attachment style is most likely what that is, okay? I don't buy this quiet BPD that we have in the middle. That's for people that are not aware of attachment style. So if your therapist talks about quiet BPD, no, let's talk about disorganized attachment style, okay? Quiet, disorganized, loud, disorganized. Very disruptive inside of a marriage, okay? Again, this is a bit of a mix, so I'll have to talk to each. But people with disorganized styles, they can swap between being clingy and distant, which is very confusing for the partner, right? Very, very confusing for their partner to be emotionally distant and not talk about needs, but also a bit clingy and insecure and asking, what can I do so that you don't leave me? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Again, they tend to pair up. Loud disorganized pairs up with loud disorganized or with borderline personality disorder very often, or with avoidant and they flip to anxious, or with anxious and they flip to avoidant, and then it's chaotic. Quiet disorganized tends to pair up quite often with very big personality disorders and get mistreated over and over and over, and then say, wow, that's why I don't open up to people. I am a burden, and also people are crazy and hurtful, so I think I'll just sit here in the corner and be quiet. Most of these women don't come to me till they're in their 50s or 60s, and they've had a lifetime of mistreatment and confusing relationships. They're usually just confused. They're not angry. They're not very angry people. They don't hold grudges against anybody. They just assume that nobody will do any better and that they don't deserve better. So these styles, guys, they have enormous difficulty trusting. And if they ever do come to trust, then it terrifies them trusting people. Then they feel like they're going to let people down if someone trusts them. So it's this inconsistent experience continuously. So they struggle to trust themselves or trust others. Fear of abandonment, fear of intimacy, both back and forth. If you aren't walking in this perfect narrow path, it's not right. And even the perfect narrow path feels suspicious and confusing. They don't know the skills to start having secure relationships. All they know is the chaos and the pain. They have a tremendous number of communication challenges. The loud disorganized might actually be able to speak their needs loudly and start kind of demanding it and then begging for it and then demanding it and begging for it back and forth. While the quiet disorganized woman, she probably doesn't even know what needs are. She probably has to look up needs in a dictionary. What is an emotional need? And she has to try to learn academically what her feelings and needs even are. Really? I can just ask for somebody to not scream at me? What a concept. They're so sweet. I don't want to make fun of it, but like they are so sweet and so academic about relationships because they're highly intelligent and they have never really, really opened up and been loved for who they are. They don't really know what that experience is like. Sometimes they have good people around them who want to love them, but they don't know how to receive it and they feel like they would just be a burden even if they let people. Hearts out to you, ladies. I know some of you watching this right now. You are awesome people. Almost all of you. Pretty much everyone that I've ever met, one of you has been amazing. So keep doing you. Just learn your needs. Learn your needs and that you are not a burden to other people. Okay? But in marriage, disorganized attachment style is enormously disruptive. It's so chaotic. It's so flipping back and forth. And again, you are so likely to pick the most chaotic, wild partners because you got disorganized in the first place by having family structure that was hurtful. So that's what you're used to. So it's probably what you're going to find. It's what you're going to gravitate toward. You're going to find similar structures that are also hurtful and chaotic and disruptive. Then you're going to try to build a marriage. And that oxytocin, vasopressin bonding that's supposed to happen with consistent love and connection, not going to happen. It's going to get disrupted. The more bonding that does happen, the more fearful you're going to become, and your partner probably too. And then the more that it doesn't happen, the more stagnant you're going to become, the more frustrated you're going to become, and probably your partner too. This right here, this is exactly why, you guys, you have to fix your attachment style and become remade secure. You don't have to grow up secure. I mean, that's fantastic if you do. Hats off to you. You won the lottery, but you can become remade secure at any time. I've helped people in their 70s reach remade secure, okay? You have to create secure attachment for yourself and in your relationship and pick the right partner who is capable of being securely attached. If you've never felt secure attachment, if you don't even know what that's like, if watching this channel has made you dream of a world that you can't reach and don't feel and have never experienced, that's okay. You are now on the pathway to understanding it. There's a number of ways that you can start exploring it. Some people go out and have conversations with friends, but that wall can feel fairly high at the very beginning. Okay. Some people might explore it with a coach or a therapist first, but it feels like a professional relationship, and it's kind of hard to move from thinking into doing. What you need to do is have some core experiences with people who are going to give you the right outcomes. So if you have some really trustworthy friends in your life, what I usually encourage people to do is go have some conversations with them about what you've learned or about what relationship you want in the future. Now, I am building a retreat called the Attachment Immersion Retreat for a few select people, maybe 25-ish kind of people who want to come and experience some secure attachment with me, with each other, with some facilitators who are going to be there. If you want to have that core experience that you can then take home and have proof of concept that remade secure attachment is possible, and feel those conversations and then move with confidence into having your first conversations in your life with friends and family, maybe a partner, you are welcome to check out the Attachment Immersion Retreat. I'll drop some information below in the description. It's also on my website, adamlanesmith.com. I just want to make sure everybody knows this is available. It's not going to be for everybody, honestly, but it is a huge resource for people who want to invest in that future and then get that skill learning now so that you can move forward with that confidence, right? Muscle memory, you go to a trainer, you get muscle memory, then you can do the work on your own with greater confidence and achieve better results. That's what this retreat is supposed to be. So if you need that help to help you overcome communication challenges, trust issues, fear of abandonment, etc., and work with somebody who's secure to feel secure, let me know. We can talk about that retreat. For now, what I want you to take from this video is this. Divorce rates are not a random flip of a coin or the roll of a dice. It's not random, you guys. It is based heavily on your attachment style. It's based on how you bond, how you communicate, how you approach problems, how you build trust or don't build trust, how you solve things on your own or work together to cooperate, how you bond with Oxytocin, Vasopressin, or how you don't do any of those things. You've seen how the various attachment styles, the insecure ones, contribute directly to a high divorce rate. I hope you've also seen how moving toward remade secure and selecting a partner or building with a partner to become secure together is the best outcome that you can possibly reach. If you want to build a lifelong marriage, secure attachment is required. It's not optional. You've got to build this. If you need help with that, again, shoot me an email, support@adamlanesmith.com, or drop it in the comments below. Let me know. I'm here. I'm reading every single one. I am Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. Thank you for spending this time with me. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps this channel. And as always, drop your questions below. I'd be happy to take them.